Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of this ongoing experiment where we have our second participant. In our first episode, we had Jarrod playing the first character, and this is the second episode where we're going to start same game, but with a new character. Joining us as the player is the lovely John La Valle. Hello, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty good.
Happy to be here.
You have no idea what you're in for, do you?
I only know some slight details. I did. Fair warning. I did listen to. Kate was here, so I do know that I'm in for a surprise. I just don't know anything about that surprise.
Sure.
And you've warned me not to have any expectations.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way to really go into it, because if you start, getting your hopes up for Jurassic Park, and then when it's not Jurassic Park, you go, "Oh, I was really hoping."
Yeah, I mean, I already told you I know what it is. It's Jingle All the Way.
Yeah. I said, that's going to be a good holiday one. We'll have to save that, earmark that. Yeah. You're going to be playing the second character in this.
Well, I'm really the first character. Jarrod just
from your point of view.
First.
Yeah, from your point of view, you're number one.
I'm the main character.
So, tell us a little bit about your character. I mean, we can start with what were the criteria that I gave you to choose from, and then what you decided on.
Let's start with his name. His name is Bernard Butch Jackson. He's a entrepreneur. I wouldn't say he's a huckster, but he definitely makes his own way. He's a souvenir salesperson and a unofficial tour guide, and likes to sell lots of bootleg things in Washington D.C. to tourists.
How old is he?
I believe he's 40.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And he is a Vietnam vet. I don't know if that's the most important place to start, but I guess we'll go back to the beginning. He was born in New York City, and his parents owned a breakfast joint when he was a kid, and he got in a little bit of street trouble when he was young. In fact, that's where he got his nickname Butch. Mm-hmm. He and his friend were trying to rob a butcher, and it turned out to impress some a bunch of street kids, like a street gang.
Yeah.
And it turns out that like the kid who runs the street gang, like his uncle runs the butcher as a front, and he got himself in trouble, and it didn't go well. He got caught by his parents and all sorts of things, and so he got put in a private school. So he is educated. He comes from humble beginnings. Mm-hmm. But now kind of as he gets older, he goes into private school. He does do pretty well in school, so he's not, he's pretty well educated. And you have your timeline here of a bio. I'm gonna say, and then in 1970, when he was 15 years old, his mother was diagnosed with early dementia. That's right.
And her condition was deteriorating. So the father, in order to take care of both his 15-year-old son and his wife, he had to sell the restaurant. Took a normal job working on like the docks, but Bernard did well enough in school that he got to that sort of high-end private school, got a scholarship.
That's right.
And then, then in the year 1972, when he was 17 years old, after getting into a university that he couldn't afford, what happened to him? Because something amazing happens.
He met a girl. He was working in a country club to kind of try to make enough money so that he could maybe try and get some living expenses, but also knowing that country clubs are full of rich, powerful people, he thought he would use it as an opportunity to try and get a scholarship.
Right.
And he met a girl named Linda Lansbury, and they had a passionate night in the boathouse. Mm-hmm. And but unfortunately, her father is a very powerful man, and at that time he was the governor. And was not pleased about the about his daughter getting pregnant from a busboy, basically. Mm-hmm. So it didn't go too well. Yeah, kind of like if Caddyshack went sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, both Bernard, aka Butch, had a sort of contentious relationship with that woman's father, but they were very much in love, decided to raise the kid, and at a certain point, tell us briefly what the sort of ultimatum that was presented to Butch around, I guess it was around 1973, 1975, yeah, right around there.
his 18th, about around his 18th birthday.
Yeah.
He basically tells him that if he enlists in the Vietnam War, that the father would make a trust fund for the child, so that he doesn't have to worry about if he's gonna if he gets into this university or whatever happens to him, the kid will always have will have money.
Right.
So of course, like anybody, Butch goes ahead and enlists in the it's kind of the tail end of the Vietnam War. They're still drafting.
Sure.
Around this time. But yeah, he puts himself into the shit, as they say.
And bad shit happens when he's in Vietnam.
Yeah, he's. Are we getting into all that, or is this stuff that I guess this won't get revealed during?
This wouldn't naturally come out during the gameplay. So go ahead and tell us everything that happens.
Oh, okay. Well, first he gets on the plane and they send him. No, I guess I won't start that.
He's in Vietnam. Things are going bad. What happens to him ultimately?
He gets taken. He gets taken as a POW. He gets taken as a prisoner of war. He does see 6 of his unit taken and 12 more are killed. I imagine it was it was an ambush, right?
Yeah.
On a convoy, and he's taken as a prisoner of war, and he's interrogated by the Viet Cong. He's stabbed with a knife in the shoulder during torture. Which later on will earn him a Purple Heart.
Mm-hmm.
But while he's out, obviously the war ends. He's released in a prisoner exchange program, so it's not like anybody came and saved him. It was kind of diplomacy in the end that did that. And when he comes back, he finds out that his father has passed away early on. His mother passed away from complications from a disease. And also now his father's passed away.
So all he's really got is the wife and son.
Right, and he's stateside, and his wife is or I don't think they haven't been married yet.
Right.
So his baby mama and his son, he has no idea how to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Going on a hunch though, knowing that.
She talked about her family history before, about like where they lived and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and Linda somehow have an aunt in Maine. I go spend summers, and he's like, well, if I had a pregnant daughter who's kind of like a troublemaker, where would I send her away to live with her aunt? Probably in somewhere quiet like Maine. And he finds that there's a VFW there that he can attend, and so he moves to Maine, and works in the fish market.
And he eventually, through happenstance, reconnects with Linda and the child.
Right. She's volunteering at the VFW hospital.
And then to bring us up to speed of where we are now, they eventually got married. And then in 1989, the second child was born.
That's right. Yeah, and they've moved since then.
Yeah.
To the New Jersey shore.
Yeah, in Point Pleasant, right?
Point Pleasant, New Jersey. That's right.
So then in 1989, second child is born, but Linda was suffering from a massive bout of postpartum depression. Yep. And what happened to her?
Well, she thought she would find solutions and find an answer to everything plaguing her in the hands of a cult.
Mm-hmm. Which I've made details about that, but we'll reveal more about that in game.
Sure, yeah. There's and at that time there were a lot of there was the UFO cult, the famous UFO cult, that later on was known as Heaven's Gate. But I wouldn't say it's that one, but there were others out there.
Yeah, this is
It's basically she takes the
oldest son,
the older son with her.
Yeah.
Which is not uncommon, but she has to cut everything else out of her life.
Yeah.
So she disappears with the son. And Butch gets nothing more than a anonymous phone call. I mean, not anonymous, but just a phone call. Just hey, I'm okay. Just so you know, these people are going to take care of me, and then gone.
Yeah,
the police won't help because there's no body, there's no.
And she left voluntarily.
Struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly the biggest thing.
But Butch was stuck with the infant.
That's right.
Yeah. So Linda kind of went a little cuckoo. Took her oldest son, who was like maybe 17-ish at the time, I'm thinking, right. And then vanished as part of this cult. But the cops know about it, but there's not much they can do. So for the next several years, raising the infant, he goes by BJ, because he's Bernard
Yeah.
Jr.
Yeah, he's Bernard Jr.
And the two of you have been palling around in an RV, scouring the countryside, looking for any signs of where the cult might be, because they're always kind of like on the move.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm sure he gets close.
Yeah.
You know, finds places that they stayed. You know, finds people that finds flyers, finds places that they've recruited. You know, like
sure,
whatever. But never gets close enough to actually find her. And so he kind of not that he gives up the search entirely, but he gives up searching physically himself all over the country.
Yeah.
And settles down near Washington, D.C., where he hopes to get in contact with now Senator Lansbury, who he hopes he will kind of give him, help him find Linda, except for the fact that he just goes, well, listen, I know what you're here for. Here's some money. Go, just go away.
Yeah, because he still doesn't like Butch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also bad for politics.
Absolutely,
like it's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad
scandal.
for his campaign.
Yeah.
Like here's your daughter that had an unwed baby who's now in a cult. He's trying to make it go away. He'd rather he's not. Let's just say he's not a very sentimental man.
Yeah.
But Butch instead takes the money, starts a business so he can stay in D.C. And that's how he converts the RV into also a souvenir shop that they live out of.
Right.
And I wouldn't say they're not dirt poor, like as in, they have to live in the RV because of, whatever. He's just kind of guy where he's streamlining his life because most of his resources are keeping BJ happy and healthy, but also
holding out hope, Holding out
hope.
Yeah. So. Cool. So now that we got a handle on Butch, John, how are you feeling before we dive into this?
Is it lame to say nervous?
It's not lame.
Okay.
Why would that be lame? I don't know why.
Well, I'm a seasoned professional.
I mean, and also this is almost assuredly the first duet you've played.
What? Let me tell you. I'm gonna tell the folks at home the same thing I told you. Most games you can engineer the character to where they can Call of Cthulhu. I know the character's gonna have to deal with some supernatural shit.
Right.
He has to be a good investigator.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
This one you just said make some person between, I think you said 14 to 45 or something.
Yeah.
Right. And then
human between 14 and 45.
Yeah, lives in Washington, or I'm sorry,
lives around the DC area. Yeah.
Localized in the DC area is what you said.
Yeah.
And then I came up with this character knowing, and you said it takes place in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I came up with this character mostly from a standpoint of if it was a 90s movie, what kind of protagonists you sometimes get.
Who's in their 40s in the 90s. And yeah.
And the Vietnam thing mostly came out of and I wouldn't say he's not super affected by having been a veteran in a way that he doesn't hear a ceiling fan and then think of helicopters like in the movies.
Yeah.
He does have nightmares, as any, it's a totally a normal thing.
Yeah.
But he's thankful for the help, and I think maybe the chase for Linda helps him
stay focused.
He focuses on that. Almost like he doesn't have time to process his own shit, which is probably also a bad thing mentally.
But it's a great launching point.
Right, but he's not. But I don't want people to think he's a Vietnam vet character, and also he's an expert sharpshooter because of it.
Yeah.
He's just like most of them. Most people that ended up in Vietnam. He's a normal dude that was thrown into the craziest
into the meat
situation
grinder
possible.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's why I created him in this way that I did want him to be not a sign of the times, but represent the era in such a way that again. There was the real UFO cult during that time, people really did lose loved ones. And also there were some Vietnam vets that came home to the craziest shit. The war was bad enough. And when they got home, it was not worse, but definitely different. Right.
The fact that you're so more comfortable talking about this character as opposed to you being nervous, I think speaks volumes.
I thought I would deflect from my own personal nervousness. But I am happy to do this.
Yeah.
I am nervous because I know anything can happen.
Yeah. I was that's what makes this fun, is that literally anything can happen.
But in this, it's just me and Jarrod. So unless we're Abbott and
right
Costello.
Now, it's just you.
I know. So that's honestly, if anybody wants any insight into what it's like to be a part of this, for me, it's knowing that this could be very serious and very dark. It could also be goofy as shit. For all I know, it could be 8-legged freaks, or something, right. Or, I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely nervous, confused. Also, I've never played this D6 system before, so this is interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's. I think you sound ready to go. I think right now all you're doing is stalling. Quit stalling.
I am. I feel like I'm getting on a roller coaster, and I'm like,
you don't even you've never see. You didn't see it from the outside. It's like in a building somewhere.
And I'm in there now, right? Like I'm in the queue, and I'm sitting there looking at the thing, and I'm with you, right?
Yeah, you're like,
and I'm like, hey man, do you want to get a seat? Should I get in first, or you should get in first? Maybe you should get in first. And you sure you want that row?
And you're like, is it like a lap bar or shoulder straps? You're like, you're trying to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom first. Do you want to get a soda first? We should get a soda first, right? That's how I feel right now. Like legitimately, I might need to take a breath before we start, so I can get in Butch's headspace. But
yeah, well, we'll ease in nice and gently when you're ready. And but if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I just want to take like a so I don't sound out of breath.